This is neighborhoods. These are grocery stores. This is literal whole communities where, as someone who's lived here my whole life, like I've never seen anything like this because of that.
A lot of people are like, oh my God, I could never live in California because of the earthquakes. Okay,
Girl, earthquakes, I'm like, bring on the earthquake.
To be honest with you, I mean, those are nothing.
Nothing.
And now we have something called fire season, which we never had before, by the way.
Yeah.
I was 20 years old. I joined a fireman youth group.
Okay.
And what we used to, by the way, and I say used to because it's no longer allowed, is we used to go up into the mountains and create fire breaks.
Do a controlled burn.
We'd do fire breaks. We'd clear the brush. We'd clear the debris.
Can't do that shit anymore.
And that's all gone.
Right.
Which is fucking mind-blowing. What's up, everyone, and welcome to Go Figure, the podcast where we cut the fluff, get real, and dive into everything fitness, health, and life. I'm Lori Fetrick, former American Gladiator Ice.
And I'm Ashley Randall, certified trainer, wellness coach, and your go-to for keeping it real about living your best life.
Here on Go Figure, we're busting myths, sharing truths, and having the conversations that make you stop and say, Go figure.
From fitness fads to mindset shifts and everything in between, we're here for the stuff you didn't know you needed to hear.
Crushing it, stuck in a rut, or just trying to keep it together, we've been there.
So get ready to laugh, learn, and level up. This is Go Figure. Let's do this.
Welcome to Go Figure, a new podcast series here on Chillin' with Ice. This podcast is where fitness, wellness, and real talk collide. I'm your host, Lori Fetrick, along with the incredible Ashley Randall. So today is Sunday.
Today is Sunday.
January the actual, what is this?
12th.
January 12th.
January 12th. We're 12 days into 2025 and people's worlds are getting rocked.
And we bring you this episode and current event with definitely heavy hearts.
Very heavy.
I mean, we live here in Cali, in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Well, you just came back.
I did. As someone who is like a California born and raised, native, it is gut-wrenching to me, see what, not even just with the fires, yes, but like just to see what has happened to, I guess I'll just say my state. It's a place that I'm proud to be from. I love California, and to see what has like transpired over the last, I would say more or less 5 years. I'm sure it's been in the works. It's just gut-wrenching and disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It's very disappointing. And today we bring you this current event with the wildfires. I mean, it's all over the news. It's worldwide. I'm getting emails from friends in England asking me if I'm okay. And we're just going to go into this. And I mean, this is our opinion. We live here. We see what's happening. And we can only get our, what we feel is possibly facts from literally everything. We're looking at social media, we're looking at news, we're looking at, you name it, we're looking at it and trying to decipher, in our own minds, in our own opinions, what we feel is happening.
For sure.
And please don't shoot the messenger. We're just reporting on here, what we see, what we hear, what's going on. Now, me personally, I live in the Valley.
Yeah.
So what that means is I live in the San Fernando Valley and I have mountains surrounding me. So at one point in time, I had the Pacific Palisades fire.
Yeah.
I had, I believe it's called the Hertz fire. I had the Eaton fire, and then the Hollywood Hills fire started. I was literally surrounded by fire.
Yeah.
And it was a little scary because of the fact that these fires really, honestly, were only like maybe 10 miles away.
Right.
And when it comes to fires like this and winds blowing, that 10 miles goes like this.
Well, that's something that I think that's really important to break down, even for someone who hasn't lived here. I mean, I have friends that even live in San Diego and they still don't understand the geography of where we live in, LA County, Ventura County, in the hills, in the valleys, because it's a very hard, I think, geography to try to explain. Someone's like, oh, how far are you from the fires? And it could be like, well, I'm 30 miles. Well, that doesn't seem like you're very close. But when all that's between you and the fire is a canyon, and that canyon can catch on fire, it goes from the, one side through the canyon, and then, which is exactly what happened at the Palisades, which is exactly what happened, how it burned all the way to the ocean. People are like, oh, I'm by the beach, I'm fine. Well, all it has to do is just rage over this mountain that's all dry brush, and then it's at the beach. And so for people that don't maybe understand that geography,
Right.
these aren't just like flat plains in Kansas where it's just like, okay, the fire is just running through,
Right.
a flat plain. This is neighborhoods. These are grocery stores. This is literal whole communities
Right.
where, as someone who's lived here my whole life, like I've never seen anything like this because of that.
Well, the sad thing is that a lot of people are like, oh my God, I could never live in California because of the earthquakes. Okay,
Girl,
so-
earthquakes, I'm like, bring on the earthquake.
To be honest with you, I mean, those are nothing.
Nothing.
And now the sad thing is we have something called fire season,
Yes.
which we never had
Correct.
before, by the way.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from me growing up, I was 20 years old. I decided that I wanted to become a fireman, to be quite honest with you. And so I joined a fireman youth group.
Okay.
And what we used to, by the way, and I say used to because it's no longer allowed, is we used to go up into the mountains and create fire
Do a
breaks.
controlled burn.
We'd do fire breaks. We'd clear the brush.
Yep.
We'd clear the debris.
Can't do that shit anymore.
And that's all gone.
Right.
Which is fucking mind-blowing.
And it's a
that's gone.
necessity. Like, that's again what people maybe don't understand is having a controlled burn, doing a fire break, you're basically trying to eliminate what just happened in the
Yes.
Palisades. You're saying, okay, we're going to burn this, we're going to cut this, we're going to do whatever needs to be done so that if this does catch on fire, it's not a 20-foot tall thing, it's, maybe a 2-inch tall thing, whatever it is that you're trying to trim and cut back. And because I think just jumping right into it, because of the crazy budget cuts, because $17 million
$17 million
dollars
was cut.
is cut. Like, that is not a small thing. That's not just like, oh, we just cut $100,000. It's one person's paycheck. No. This is multiple people that couldn't get hired. These are people that retired and then weren't replaced. So people that were retiring and their salary was now their job position was not getting replaced. It wasn't getting rehired because we didn't have the money to hire in a new group of firefighters to do the work, to do the controlled burns, to go and cut down the branches.
But even on that note, okay, one of the things is why they stopped doing the cleanup and the fire breaks and everything is environmental. Animals live in these dead trees. Animals live in the dead debris. Well, yes, we get that. They do. But I'm sorry, and I am the biggest fucking animal lover out there, okay? I mean, I will take a spider from my house and take it outside because I don't want to kill it, unless it's a cockroach and boom, you're done. Sorry, dude. But my point is that I'm sorry.
I know.
Lives and home structures, families are more important, okay, than let's save a few small little, I'm not saying small, I don't know what lives in there, but there's a lot that lives in the debris that the environmentalists don't want to get rid of.
Correct.
Because of this reason.
And hey,
it's crazy.
again, right there with you, biggest animal lover, advocate. I mean, I just fucking fostered a dog to get out of the shelter. Like, I will do anything that I can for an animal. Those animals are still dead, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, because the fire now killed them.
Correct. That's
Unfortunately.
the thing, is it's like, okay, so we didn't want to do the thing that could have prevented hundreds of thousands of acres and families and homes and all the things added up. Because you didn't want to do that. You now have burned over the size of Manhattan. So take Manhattan, drop it in.
Hold on, 2.5 times Manhattan now.
Because now I think it's like 25, it's like 25,000, I think. Yeah. And I think Manhattan's like only like 14.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
But the point that you're saying is that, yes, we could have, I mean, there are going to be some animals that are going to be displaced. There's going to be some disruption to the ecosystem. But at what cost is that then going to happen when, again, it all catches on fire and then you've got deer and cougars and mountain lions and bunnies and birds and whatever, all the things that you're freaking out about displacing are now caught on fire and ragingly displaced. Not to mention the homes and the structures.
That to me is more sad.
Correct.
Not more sad, but it's sad that the environmentalists are trying to save animals by not cleaning up the debris, but yet they're causing the death of millions of animals, thousands of animals because of these wildfires.
Correct.
And that's just fucking sad.
Correct. It's so like now all the owls, all the things they want to save, where are their trees? Where are they going to hide? Where are they going to live? Nowhere.
So that's one thing. The infrastructure of LA is just not just LA, but California absolutely blows and sucks. The second animal is they wanted to save the smelt fish.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I did a
Smelt
lot of
fish.
digging on
Yeah,
this.
tell me about this. You did
Okay,
more on this than I did.
so apparently the smelt fish lives in the brackish waters to where the salt water and fresh water
Got
actually
it.
come together.
Okay.
Okay, so they need more fresh water in order to create their beautiful little habitat in order to survive.
Okay.
So what's happening is they're saying that now they're almost on the endangered species list, and they're afraid that what's going to come next is the killer whales and the salmon. So with that being said, again, it's all environmental to where they're trying to save these things. And so what they have done is instead of allowing this water to flow down the San Joaquin Delta
Right.
into our reservoirs, they're just letting it flow right into the Pacific Ocean for the fish. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Absolutely mind-blowing,
That is.
bonkers. And all you got to do sometimes, which is really fucking sad, is follow the money.
Right. Yep.
Follow the money, because I'm sorry, our Governor Newsom, are you going to tell me he has the biggest heart in the world for a smelt fish?
No.
Fuck no.
Hell no.
This was all about money.
Right.
Okay, how much money is he going to put in his pocket and his politician pockets in order to, so he says, save the smelt fish?
Right.
I don't buy it.
Correct. I don't buy it. I don't buy it that he is so concerned. Let's not forget, again, for those of you that may be just tuning in, let's not forget this is the same man that said that we had to close down all restaurants, wear masks, couldn't do anything, and yet kept his restaurant, French Laundry, open and had people in it spending money, eating, and not wearing masks.
Right.
So I have a very hard time. It's the same man who's now concerned with the smelt fish.
Okay.
Now he's so compassionate for smelt fish and for orcas. And listen, I don't want the orcas to go away. I don't want them to be endangered. But there has to be a solution that isn't one or the other.
I'm going to say it, and I don't fucking care. He is the worst governor we have ever fucking had in this state.
Ever.
He has destroyed California
Yes.
bit by bit by bit by bit. It's just absolutely disgusting. This state isn't where I was born and raised.
Right.
This state has become something that, for the first time in my life, I'm like, where the fuck can I go?
Right.
What state can I move to?
Yeah.
And get out of Cali?
Right.
Because it is run so fucking
So
poorly,
terrible.
and the infrastructure is so bad. Now, let's go to the insurance.
Well, I'm just on that really quick. People gave us so much shit when Schwarzenegger came in, and I'm not saying that he was
Right.
the solution. People are like, "Oh, California's a joke. You have an action hero." I would welcome him back so fucking fast compared to Newsom. I'm like, this man has come in. So I don't want to give you want to give me a politician or you want to give me an action hero. Newsom, like it is, and I think what we said earlier is like what to me is so frustrating is people made this decision, whether it was consciously, whether it was by influence.
We tried to get him out of office.
Correct.
And for some reason,
And he's still here.
We had signatures. We had
Oh, gosh,
petitions
I remember.
to get his
Yes.
ass out of office.
Yes.
And for somehow, some way, he's still fucking there.
Still here. Exactly.
Okay, so here's my thought. California is this is the way I look at it. California is a corporation.
Uh-huh.
Newsom is the president.
Yeah.
That fucker needs to be fired.
He needs to be fired. We need to recall him, which we tried to do.
Absolutely.
And he's still here.
Absolutely.
So it's like,
Karen
who's
Bass
keeping
is
him?
no better.
Oh,
Our mayor, that whoever, at why she's in office, I
Correct.
don't know.
No.
I mean, I'm listening to her on the news,
Yeah.
and every single question. Why were the fire hydrants dry?
Yes.
Why were the reservoirs dry? She was like batting these questions
yeah.
away like flies. Wouldn't answer anything, and
nothing.
said, "My sole thing is to protect families and property and structures." I'm like, bitch, if you actually thought that for 1 minute that you really were concerned about that, this would not be happening today.
Correct. And again, kind of spinning, I mean, I think we'll kind of weave in and out here, but spinning even just on that kind of goes to the conspiracy thing. It's like, okay, so you cut the firefighter budget. You didn't do anything about the brush. You conveniently, I'm going to say, were out of the country when this whole devastation started. Now, again, that could just be a pure coincidence, but I don't think that when you follow these type of trails, those type of things just happen for a coincidence.
Right.
Where your whole fucking city is literally burning to the ground and you're not even here. Like, again, you could say it just happened to be that way. I choose to not think that it just happened to be that way. I think that when you do some of these things, when you are in these positions to make these terrible calls, I think sometimes there is maybe a shred of dignity left, and you're like, I
Right.
can't even be here. I can't even be here while my city catches on fire. Like, I have to actually be gone. Again, we
I mean,
can go down that rabbit hole.
and with her, and let's go here. When she cut the budget $17 million, we're a desert. Our state is a desert. That is the last thing. And by the way, that was the second largest cut to street services. Now, let me tell you what street services is: cleaning debris, getting the trash off the streets, filling potholes, everything that we need here in California that our fucking tax dollars are paying for.
The most
Yes.
in the country.
Yeah. And all these services that actually could actually help start fires, she decided to cut the budget there.
Right.
So not only was that the first biggest budget that she cut the fireman budget by 17. It's mind-blowing that even in the state, like I said, we're a desert, and going to even the vaccinated to where they cut the firemen. If you weren't vaccinated, you were fired.
Right.
Okay, that's a whole nother topic. But my point is that this is the most essential job here in California, since we are a desert and we're high fire season every single year.
We're going to cut them if they don't get vaccinated, but we're not really going to give two shits when they are having respiratory problems, when they go into retirement, when they can't breathe, when their lungs are fucked because they've been breathing this. Oh, but if you didn't get vaccinated, you can't be coming into people's homes. And I'm like,
I'm sorry. I don't think at this point in time, all these people that have lost their homes, and they don't give a fuck if they're vaccinated or not.
They're not going to be like, wait, you're coming in to save my precious belongings or my cat, or you might have to give me CPR. Oh, I don't know. They're like, please come. I mean, there are people in LA, again, LA is a fucking crazy place. There are people in LA that were trying to privately pay firefighters, that were literally poaching firefighters to take them off the line.
That was the last fire.
But like, that's what I mean. So you trying to tell me that you think we're concerned about COVID? We're concerned about them being vaccinated? These people don't care. They're like, do you have a hose and do you have water? Bring it to my house. I will pay you an exponential amount of money.
So let's go with the water. Fire hydrants some were empty, and some the pressure was so insanely bad that they couldn't even
explain that to what people, because I think, again, we understand what that means. Explain from what you've read, what does that mean to the person who's like, what do you mean they were empty? Like,
well, that means there was no water in the fire hydrant.
and because
literally,
why? Because our reservoirs,
they just emptied. Hold on.
So what this means is, like, again, as California, we have these reservoirs. I'm sure it's all over the country, but we have these big reservoirs. They come in, the water sits there, blah, blah, blah.
Here it is.
Well, we use that to do airdrops. We use that to feed fire extinguishers. I mean, all of
our
it.
reservoirs. I mean, drinking water, everything.
Correct.
City officials emptied a 117 million gallon reservoir above the Pacific Palisades in peak fire season just before this fire happened.
That's a good look. That's a really good look.
I mean,
Ellie.
are you kidding me? Why?
Why would we ever do that? Again, going back to it, we have been in a drought. I mean, I can remember since I was like a kid that it's been a drought. You can't, sprinklers, you can't this, you can't that. My mom is on a strict watering schedule. It's like odd number houses can water their, plants on this day and this day. Even numbers can water them on Wednesday and Friday. You can only water it for 15 minutes, between 9 p.m. and like 5 a.m. So why on earth would you think that we would ever be in a position to empty a reservoir?
Okay, so here's my thing. They've been crying drought here in California forever, and yet at the same time, why the fuck aren't we piping down water from Oregon?
Correct.
Now, by the way, and I'm going to bring up Trump right now, he actually 5 years ago, he got it federally approved to where they could pipe down water from Oregon, and Newsom declined it.
Of course he did.
We don't need your water. We don't need the water. What the fuck? What do you mean we don't need the water? You've been saying we've been in a drought forever.
Correct.
And yet we don't need the water?
Right.
He is so bad. I'm wondering how the man sleeps at night.
I would be right there with you wondering the exact same thing. I can't help but think, how do these people sleep at night? And again, this is kind of just, a lot of this is Lori and I's like opinion and just our feelings, but it's like, how does someone become so corrupt, so money hungry, so everything, that to your point, that they can just operate, that they can go to the place where they're burned down and have people ambushing their cars and asking him questions. And
he
can
literally says on the news, I don't know, this is a local problem.
Correct.
Because your fire hydrants are empty. Local problem? Seriously?
Correct.
Mr. President of our entire corporation?
Yes.
That would be like saying, I mean, I can't even say it, but it's just absolutely.
That would be like if the president, Biden, Trump, whoever, wherever we are in the world when you hear this, if they just were like, if they went to a state that had a tornado and they were like, oh, I don't know.
Oh, that's your problem.
That sounds like a problem. No, motherfucker, it's your problem because you're here now to do all the things. Yeah, like,
right.
It's
so now,
insane.
Not only were the reservoirs drained,
right.
There was no water in the reservoirs, a lot of them to fill. I mean, like Lake Castaic, Lake Pyramid, where I used to go jet skiing all the time.
Yeah.
Every year I go, it was lower and lower and lower. And I'm just going, I mean, it was absolutely crazy how low these reservoirs have actually gotten.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to not refill or rebuild, they were supposed to be building more reservoirs. And yet they haven't. Where the fuck is our tax money going? I'm going to go on a tangent.
Go ahead. Go.
Do you realize some of these celebrities are paying 40% income tax to the state of California?
It's insane.
Okay, and they're pissed, and they should be pissed.
They should be.
Because of the fact that here's one thing that I did get, that these homes that have been burned in the Pacific Palisades were some of the highest price homes in the world.
Yes.
We're talking $200 to $400 million homes.
Right.
Now, for the people that are out there going, oh, well, they're celebrities, they have money. No, that's not the point. You guys have to be more compassionate and empathetic that these people are human beings.
Correct.
They have personal possessions. They have animals. They have families.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
And their shit's gone.
Right.
Now, are they going to stay in California and rebuild? Probably not.
Right.
So what does that do for California? All that tax money that Newsom just went bye-bye to.
Right. That they just pick up and leave.
People are pissed.
Yeah.
People were pissed 5 years ago and leaving California.
For sure.
I can't tell you how many people that when I was signing at Comic-Cons, oh yeah, I used to live in Cali, I moved to Tennessee.
Correct.
Yeah, I used to live in Cali, I moved to Arizona. Because the infrastructure here is so fucked up and so bad, and yet we are the highest tax state, income tax, sales tax, gas prices, food prices, you name it across the board. What the fuck where's our money going?
I've been asking that, yes, again, forever. And I mean, everything you said, I just completely agree with. I was talking with a girlfriend even this morning, and I was like, it doesn't matter if they lost a $20,000 Vera Wang wedding dress in the fire or they lost a $20 Nordstrom Rack wedding dress. It's still something that was really valuable.
Wedding dress.
And for some of these people, and this is like where I might get emotional, for some of these people, like my mom, who obviously we're not in that area, but who bought their house 30, 40, 50 years ago for $200,000, maybe $100,000, they now can't afford a $5 million house, which is what their house might be valued at, but they didn't buy it at that. They have been spending their whole entire life. Yes, again, there are celebrities that live there, but there are also just average people who have generationally passed this down. Pasadena, one of my best friends lost her childhood home where her grandmother lives, burned to the ground. That is a generational home that they have been probably pouring love and life and everything into that is just gone. And it's not just, oh, fuck Newsom, California's a disaster, you guys are a mess, sucks for you, the rich people got burned down.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who has lived here and has seen this time and time again and is probably even a little bit desensitized to it, to see what has happened in Altadena, what has happened in the Palisades, to scope back and to realize that, again, not only, in my opinion, could this have been prevented, would a fire have still happened? Yes. This level of destruction, I don't think it should have happened. But to have schools and post offices and banks and grocery stores burned to the ground, this isn't just a simple, a couple ranches in Malibu Canyon got burned down.
So this is going to affect our food industry. This is going to
Yes.
affect the gas industry. Like right
Everything.
now, they're saying that the gas pumps are empty all along that
Yes.
coastal area. People are going to start coming back into the valley again. And again, it's sad as fuck, but some of these are going to jack the gas prices
Yeah.
up, which is sad. Why do they do this in crisis? I don't know.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I don't know why they gouge people in absolute
Yeah.
crisis, but they do.
They do.
Sometimes humanity, it just blows my mind. I keep giving people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I want to think there's good people out there. There's good people out there, but there are some people out there that are just fucked up.
Oh, there
and
are
it's
some
really
fucked
sad.
up people.
You
There are
know?
some fucked up people. I actually
So-
want to go ahead. I want to say something about the Maui fires, but
Okay.
go.
So the homeless population. Now, let's go there for a minute.
Okay.
14,000 fires. I don't care if it was just a small fire alongside the road. 14,000 fires were started last year from the homeless.
Right.
What the fuck?
And again, just for those of you that maybe don't live somewhere where this is an issue, that can be that's like a homeless encampment. So that could be anything from they were trying to keep warm, they were trying to cook food. It could be a quick fire that was out in 15 minutes. It could be a fire that burned a little bit of the side of the freeway. It could be a fire that catches the whole fucking world on fire.
And that's right there.
Correct. And another thing that I think, again, kind of flowing in these gears is Karen Bass wanted to, part of the cut for the firefighter budget was to go to homeless budget. So they got all this money for the hotels to build this thing to put them in. Again, I know a lot of some of the stuff that Lori and I are saying can be very maybe generalized, but a lot of the homeless people don't want to be put into a hotel. They don't want to have restrictions. They don't want to have a curfew. They don't want that. So you now have stripped resources from the fire department and other places to pour into this whole homeless encampment, this thing, these buildings, these hotels, this refugee that we're going to build for them. And half of them don't even fucking want it.
No.
And so now what? Now you're like, oh, well, we get money depending on how many homeless people we have here. So we get more aid.
Which is mind-blowing.
Mind
right
blowing.
there.
So it's like, we better keep them here. So
Right.
it's just like, what?
One thing after another, after another, after another. Now, a lot of people pointed their fingers at the insurance companies as
Right.
well. Now, I personally, I'm not going to say I was a victim of that, but I was almost. The reason I say that is because last year, about 5 months ago, I got a letter in the mail saying, we're going to cancel your home insurance. I'm like, what the fuck? Why? What did I do? You
Right.
know? Oh, you have a palm tree branch that's overhanging your home.
Yep.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So what this means is they had drones
Yes.
going all over neighborhoods looking for anything and everything to cancel
Yes.
your home insurance, your fire insurance.
Which is crazy.
So what I did is I had my gardener come out and literally butcher my trees. I'm not even
No,
kidding.
I don't
and
blame
sent,
you.
And sent the photo in
I don't
and
blame
said,
you.
is this good enough now?
Right.
And they actually had to reinstate me because I did what they said I had to do because I was in a timely manner.
The same thing happened to my mom. I think it was like 2 years ago. I think we were just kind of starting to get out of COVID and the same thing. And at that time, I think it was harder to get people to come out to the house to do like yard work and stuff. She was
Yeah.
having a hard time finding people that would come and whatever. And same thing. She got a letter from the insurance company that was like, basically you have X number of days to get this cleared. She lives with like a hill on the backside. And they were like, if you don't da-da-da, if you don't trim these bushes, if you don't this, if you don't that, blah, 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 we're dropping your insurance. And it's like, if you miss that letter, if you can't
absolutely, you're
they're
done.
not, they don't call you 500 times to
Right.
be like, just a warning, just a warning. They're like, hey, we sent a letter.
Yeah.
And then your house burns down and then you go to file a claim and
They're
then,
like, we sent you a letter.
correct. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
You sent me a letter?
So
We're in the 21st century. Why the fuck are we sending
yeah,
letters?
right. Whoever answers. But the thing of it is a lot of people are blaming the insurance companies. Now, this is what I did here.
Okay.
Is that the insurance companies were actually communicating with Newsom
Okay.
saying, look, your state is a major red flag. We're talking high risk, high risk, high risk.
Yeah.
You need to clear your forest. You need to fill your reservoirs. You need to make sure all the maintenance, everything is done on the fire
Yeah.
hydrants. Otherwise, we're canceling insurance in California. And he didn't give a shit and he didn't listen, apparently. Now, again, this is hearsay.
Right.
So this is kind of what I heard. It could be the opposite. The insurance company could have just went, we're going to cancel your insurance.
Right.
But that makes more sense to me.
Yes.
That the insurance actually said, we're going to start canceling insurance in California because you are now having fire
Because
season.
we can't insure houses that are basically guaranteed to burn down
Yes.
because you're not doing anything
Because
as
your
a governor.
incompetence as a
Correct.
governor.
Correct.
Right. And you're not doing what needs to be done to
Correct.
protect.
Don't shoot Lori and I. These are a lot of our thoughts and opinions, but like unlike other natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, you can't prevent that. You can maybe minimize some of the destruction, but wildfires,
They're not new.
they're not like a natural disaster. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's usually coming from some source of arson. It's coming from a downed power line that was faulty and has now caught brush on fire that should have been cut. It's coming from, like, it's not just like two sticks in the forest rubbed together and then it caught on fire.
Right.
So again, for people that, again, might not understand this, when this isn't just like, oh, the winds happened and the water sucked up and then the hurricane just came to land. No, no, no,
Right.
no.
No.
A lot of these fires, back to the homeless thing, can be prevented.
Correct.
The brush being cleared can prevent the extent that the fire gets to. All of these things, because again, the fires aren't just like, oh, it's a fire day. Like the danger is high, but we as a state have to be doing what we are supposed to be doing.
To
And
help
if
minimize
correct, and if the
this.
budget is being cut and the funding isn't there, or the knowledge isn't being spread
Right.
to educate people, hey, you're gonna lose your insurance, da 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 da. I mean, I don't want to say that I blame the insurance companies. I mean, a lot of the insurance companies in California are leaving because it's getting too expensive to insure homes out here for reasons like this. Because it's like, well, if you're not going to do what needs to be done and a whole neighborhood like Altadena can catch on fire, we as an insurance company, we're like, we can't insure that.
Right. I don't understand why we don't have a water pipeline. Why in the fuck don't we have a water pipeline? They pump there's a gas line, natural gas line. I mean, they've been doing this for years,
Right.
and yet there's not a fucking water
Right.
line. Half the country's drowning, the other half is dry as fuck.
Right.
And so you're telling me that we can't pump water from where they have so much of it,
Right.
they don't know what to do with it and they're drowning, over here. Okay, let's go the next one real fast, and that is Israel. They actually have, and I'm going to pronounce this completely wrong and bash me if you want. It's a desaltation type
Yes.
of machine.
Yeah.
To where they're actually taking water from the ocean, taking the salt and everything out and using it as drinking water.
I've actually heard
Why
about this.
can't we do this?
Newsom was positioned to this, and apparently, again, this has been something that's been going on for several years. He's been positioned options like this, where, of course, it would be billions of dollars, probably trillions of dollars, but he is just sitting on the money. So the money is actually there in California to be spent. He just isn't spending it and allocating it on the thing. But there have been people, there have been options, there have been, how do we pump this in? How do we transfer this? Hello, we live by the fucking ocean.
I know.
I'm pretty sure we're scooping up ocean water right now and dumping it on fires. So if we are in that much of a state of desperation, we can figure out how to scoop up that same ocean water and filter it. But you have to spend the money. And again, I could
Why
be
doesn't
wrong.
He want to spend the money? I
I'm
don't
pretty
get it.
sure. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I read this correctly, and I could be wrong. So don't come for me. But I think that California is the 5th largest economy in the world.
Well, our farmlands, before they're drying up right now, used to be the biggest,
Right.
like for the food industry in
So
California.
how are you the 5th largest economy in the world?
Mm-hmm.
Again, if we're saying that that's true, how is that possible? And yet you're falling apart. Yet you don't have the money to allocate to these things. You don't have these systems set up. I mean, we could go on and on forever. I did want to touch on something really quick that you had said about how long it would take them to rebuild and stuff, some of these homes. And I was reading an article and some stuff on Frontline about a lot of the Maui survivors, where still, this isn't 6 months later, this is years later.
Yeah.
And still a lot of them dealing with post-traumatic distress, dealing with no homes, living in RVs, still trying to figure out how to rebuild. There's no resources for where they were living. Like, people seem to think, and maybe I'm wrong, but people seem to think that like once it's over, it's just kind of over. It's like,
No, it's not over.
It's not over. You don't just rebuild 17,000 structures just like that.
I was listening to Adam Carolla, and interesting enough, he was like, what's going to happen is they're going to go, all these people that voted for blue, basically, and saying, oh, we're awesome. Everything
Right.
is great. Well, they're going to go and, try to get their permits to rebuild, and they're going to hit walls after walls after walls.
Yes.
And pretty soon they're going to get frustrated and they're going to be like, what the fuck?
Correct.
So sometimes, sometimes you gotta sit in this for a minute and look at the big picture, follow the money,
Yeah.
and ask why.
Right.
And that's the thing. Why?
Why?
People need to wake up
Right.
and ask, why is this happening to California? Why?
And I mean,
Why are they just letting it go to shit?
Correct. Why? There is, so I mean, for a state that's supposed to hold the Olympics, which I think is also another very interesting thing, that there's been some conspiracy about that. Like, oh, we're supposed to hold the Olympics here and now we're burning this down and now we're going to like turn it into like a smart city. And like, you have to, I mean, there's all the things. And so for a state that's slated to hold the Olympics, a state that has a huge economy, that to your point has probably more celebrities, I'm making this up, more celebrities than any other state as far as like funding and the movie industry and just insane amount of wealth here in this country. And yet, why are we defunded? Why are we in a drought? Why are we trying to defund the police? We have clearly defunded the fire department, even though it wasn't as big of a conversation. And yet we're still just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I love, like, what? That you have to wake up.
People need to wake the fuck up and start asking why.
You have to ask questions.
Why?
And you have to look at more than just, oh, well, he was already our governor, so let's just revote him. Oh, so-and-so said this. Oh, da-da-da-da.
Do your own research.
You have to do your own research. You
can't bury your head anymore. We're in a world that you cannot bury your head anymore.
And also, I think what is really sad is regardless, I guess I'll say kind of regardless of what Newsom has or hasn't done, he was a person that people put in a position of power, whether it was manipulation that he got there, money, or because truly people believed in the bullshit that he said. He was a person that was entrusted. And Joe Rogan does a much better job saying this, but he was a person that was like put in a place to run our country, our state, and has completely let us down. And I think that is one thing that if you just look at it in a black and white standpoint, if you do just zoom out, you're like, this person was given the keys to an amazing kingdom. He fucked up San Francisco, and then, which is literally like a zombie apocalypse.
Oh my God.
Terrible up there.
It's terrible.
And then he's come down here and it's like, welcome to LA, buddy. Hey, we're going to let you do the exact same fucking thing here.
So tell me why anybody would want to move to Cali right now. We've got the highest crime rate. The people who get in jail get out the next day. Our homeless situation is completely out of control.
Out of control.
Our wildfires are out of control. So we now have fire season every single year. And you just don't know basically if your home's going to burn down or not, if it's going to be in the path. Our infrastructure is absolutely terrible. We have weather. And even that's controlled here.
Yes.
Okay, so that is not a conspiracy any longer.
And I just want to touch on that actually. And this, again, I want to be so sensitive here because I'm not taking away from anything. But to your point, if we can control the weather.
Why can't we make it rain?
Or why couldn't we turn the wind off? Well, I don't know. You're telling me that just like, again, those are the things that just kind of stack up to where I'm like, so we defunded the fire department. Our mayor happened to be out of the country. And then we just happened to have the worst winds ever. And then it just happened to catch on fire.
Storm is what they call that.
I understand that. Right. But like.
And how did it start, by the way?
No, it's under investigation. Like everything in California.
Is it arson? Was it?
It's under investigation.
And apparently their power was not turned off.
Right.
Through the entire wind season.
And the other fires that did start, like the Kenneth fire, that was arson. And again, I almost can't help but think that I wonder if they would just put somebody, if they would just be like, you are a sacrificial lamb, go and start this fire, and like to distract. Like that's how crazy the conspiracy is.
But I am not going to discard that whatsoever. We are...
Here, distract over here. Look over here at this shiny. Look, we found this man. He's so bad. Look what he did. It's like, okay, but we still want to know, how did this fucking fire start? How did this fire start?
And why did you allow it to like just literally go out of control like this?
It's
very sad. I'm very sad for California. I have thought about moving out of California numerous times. My mother lives here. She's 83. I can't leave right now.
I know.
I've got to stay here.
It's half the reason I'm back.
Exactly. And it is beautiful fucking weather. There's no doubt we have our beaches, we have our mountains, but yet the price that we pay for that is sometimes it's just
And not even
it's
monetary. Not even monetary price. I think that is also extreme, but just like what you're saying, the people that have lost the homes, the things that we have to or we're being forced to, deal with, the homelessness, like the price that we pay to have these things, you have to step back and you have to look at, are these the school systems that I would want my kids to be raised in? Are these the streets that I would want? Like you really got to think about it.
Right.
And there's a quote that says, an evil man will burn down his own nation. An evil man will burn down his own nation to the ground just to rule over the ashes.
That's sad. But it's true.
So fucking sad, but it is true. It was a thing from a Chinese general that was, but it's like, yeah, it's true. There is so much corruption and deep, dark, like evil people in this world that to have some houses burned down, I say in quotes, to that's just a casualty. They're just like, oh, it's just cops are doing war. Next, move right along. We've got a bigger agenda. And it's like, and I don't want to think that because this is my home. Like, I mean, those beaches, to me, I'm just like, God, like that is.
Those were the iconic homes that we go down to the beach and go into Malibu.
Yes.
And I've seen since I was a child.
We did a V-Shred photo shoot there. Yeah. I mean, even they were like, hey, the house that we did the V-Shred shoot at, burned to the ground. I'm like, again, that's a very small thing, but still, you're just like, that's someone's home.
Yeah.
That's someone's home. So, and maybe maybe that's their income. Maybe they rent out that beach house to make, to do like, you don't know.
Whatever it is.
And it's just like, and now it's just all gone.
Girl, I don't know.
Let's talk about something positive. Tell me a couple resources that you have so that we can
now
cheer up, guys.
I know, right? The people that have been affected. I mean, I know that you probably know this already. Accepting women's, men's, baby clothing, shoes, accessories. If you have any donations whatsoever, yes, the Salvation Army of LA is taking them. Mm-hmm. There are many things online to where you can donate. People who have lost everything in a fire. And
another really good resource it's called Baby to Baby. They'll do everything. It's not just baby stuff. So if you're just wanting to, and guys, again, I know this is hard for some people, but a lot of what they're asking for right now is like monetary donations, because I want you to think about this. If Lori and I go and bring a bunch of our clothes that is gently used to a thing, that means that now they have to have a volunteer going through these clothes to try to figure out who's a small, who's a medium, is this useful? I hate to be callous, but that's kind of a waste of resources. Mm-hmm. What they need is just the money. They need to be able to hand somebody a cash card and say, have some dignity, go to the grocery store, pick out some some food, not just we're spending now 50 volunteers to try to sift through and find out if these shoes that have been donated are even wearable. Right. It's like the financial donations go so far. Donating food, meals, you can call a restaurant and you can just say, hey, here's $200, put it towards anybody who comes in. You can Uber stuff to firefighter stations. Like for instance, for the Eaton fire over in Altadena, Pasadena, the Santa Anita racetrack. Yeah. Yes.
They've closed that down. It's now basically an entire facility for people that are displaced to where you can go, you can donate there if need be.
Yeah.
There's a ton of animal,
oh my gosh,
rescues and shelters and everything that are dying for your help.
Yes. I just got a rescue dog yesterday that we'll see. I don't know. She might become my real dog, but yes. And these aren't necessarily even dogs or animals that were displaced from the fire. These are animals that were already in the shelter that are now needing a place because the displaced animals.
But just make sure that when you are donating, that it is a reputable donation place. Don't just pick one offline. Do a little bit of research to make sure that where your money is going to, where your donations are going to, are real. Because unfortunately, again, people are fucked up in these times. They're going to take advantage and they're going to start scamming people. They're going to actually start doing things that are not actually. It's terrible, but unfortunately they're going to get greedy and they're going to start these scams. So make sure that you do your little research, wherever you're listening to this podcast, if you want to donate, that it's reputable, that it is going to help the victims of the families and the fire victims and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, Baby to Baby is one that's really reputable. They've
Right.
been vetted a lot. They do all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I think exactly. Do your
You
research
know what we'll
in
do is we're
anything.
gonna in our show notes, we're gonna
Yeah,
actually put a list of all the places that you can donate that we know exactly that are very
yeah,
reputable. So check the show notes on this podcast where you can send your donations for whether it be families, animals,
yeah.
clothing, food, like you said, anything that you want to
Right.
do in
Yeah.
that area.
And the last thing I'll say, which I kind of touched on with the Maui fires, is whenever you're listening to this, whether it be the day that it comes out, whether it be a month from now, I guarantee you that there are still people that need help. This just
Absolutely.
because I mean, even right now, I think this morning I saw that it was, don't quote me, there's so many stats, but I think it was like 11%
You're right. I
contained.
saw that too.
11%,
11%
like
containment in Pacific
a week
Palisades.
later almost, guys. Like
Yeah.
that's what's
And we have
insane.
more wins coming up this week,
Right.
by the way.
So it's not just, oh, the fire's out, everything's okay. This is
Yeah.
something that, yeah, maybe in 6 months from now, maybe, your kids want to go and bring some food or some Gatorade to a fire station. Like I was talking to a firefighter just yesterday, I think it was, and they were saying that they don't have any food at the stations because no one can go grocery shopping. So
Yeah.
it's like, even when the fire guys are coming back to the station or the ones that are staying there,
Right.
they can't go out and grocery shop because if they get a call, so it's like they're just eating whatever's left, so it's like just any little bit that you can do. Put a fucking bucket of water out if you live in California for the animals that are like,
The wild animals,
yes,
absolutely. The coyotes and
like,
everything else that are
yes, like
coming
just,
down. Yeah,
or just be a
exactly.
good person. Just be
Yeah.
patient, be kind to the person in line. You don't know. Their
Right.
house could have just burned down. So just be good. I
On
know.
that note,
Yes. Bye, guys.
bye guys. Have a great week.